him to Detroit.
No! No, not Detroit! No!
What day is it? Monday? Oh, Monday!
Monday, Monday, so good to me.
Hey, it's Monday.
Medical
Monday.
Changes could be coming to Michigan's marijuana law. A new set of bills now being heard in Lansing.
Marijuana is not a drug.
And the bills would have major implications to small medical growers known as caregivers.
That's some heavy shit, man.
Small pot farmers in California say the state is not standing by its promise to protect.
Big companies were supposed to be limited, but some have stacked hundreds of licenses.
Stop hitting it so hard.
Created a cartel, essentially.
You have an industry allowing for businesses to operate like cartels.
But it's a Monday.
Harm has been done by the fact that we didn't legalize it back then.
Well, I don't know if there's any harm that's been done.
There was people getting arrested, there were people getting put in jail. I mean, that counts, doesn't it?
What kind of joint is this, man?
Smoking marijuana all in public. You would think that shit was legal. We the Pistons in the 8, 9, and 9. Oh, bad boy, bad boy.
medical.
And welcome to Mondays, y'all. This is your host with the most THC in his motherfucking bloodstream, BERG. Of course, I got my returning panelist, Adam L. Brook, aka Mr. Hash Bash himself, joining us. What up?
Hey, now I feel kind of weird because I have nothing to dab. I can't dab. Normally, I'd be taking my dab right.
Yeah. For everybody who don't know, Adam's laid up. Well, he's not laid up in the hospital. He's sitting up right now. But appreciate you joining us, man.
Hey, it's a job. Someone's got to do it.
Also, we got Latricia Matson and Rick Antis from Michigan Weedsters joining us. What up?
What up, man? Thanks for having us.
Sure. Appreciate you joining us. Before we get into anything, a huge shout out to all of our awesome sponsors. Native Made 313, Michigan Turf Farms, Nug Adduction Extracts, Tiki Madman, SOB Labs, and Tree Street Package. Boom. Shout out to everybody in the chat already. We got Native Made, we got Blue Brett, we got Angel, we got Chill. We got a few others that aren't saying anything yet. They're there. Appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Of course, here on Medical Mondays, we want to stress the fact, if you consume cannabis, go out and get your medical marijuana card, y'all. One of the awesome people you can hit up here in Michigan, as well as other states, is Detroit Certification Center. You can hit them up on DetroitCertCenter.com, Detroit Search Center on social media, or give them a call or text at 248-275-6707. If you do it online, you can get your card within 10 minutes, y'all. As little as 10 minutes. But there's plenty of other people out there you can hit up. We got Michael Dewey up north. We got Vehicle City Social at GC3 in the Flint area. We got Pure West out west. We got Michigan Weedsters that's joined us tonight. I'll point you in the right direction. Get your card. Need to show all these politicians we're still here and we're not going anywhere, people. Also, save the date, August 18th. There's going to be a going back to school sesh. I want to say it's going to be, let me look it up. Yep, it's August 18th, 2 to 7 p.m., benefiting Capuchin Soup Kitchen and the First Step Women's Shelter. Bring in school supplies, notebooks, paper, glue, all kinds of school supplies are welcome. Of course, everybody who comes through receives a raffle ticket, and you can win one of many prizes from all the vendors. I want to say each basket has at least one thing from each vendor. So
Dope
come
ass.
through. What?
They're dope ass baskets.
Hell yeah. But yeah, save the date, y'all. August 18th. Brought to you by Nugget Duction and JSH Enterprises. I'm sure Chi-Town will be in the building serving up that hibachi goodness. Shout out to Prop. Shout out to Robert. What up? What up? All right. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. I got it all out the way.
What's everyone smoking on? Why don't we try that?
Oh man. Can't
Since
ask me that. You know. Right now I'm smoking on some original Z by Michigan Turf Farms. But I also got some Z pie rolled up that I got from KK, aka SOB Labs. And also, I got what's left of my birthday cake from Dog Catcher Farms. Special shout out Dog Catcher Farms.
I'm just rocking a Keef collection and the old bong. So yeah, I got a kind of a mixed flavor there. So that's fine.
Keefing it up, keefing it up. Shout out to Cognac.
I have no idea what I'm smoking, but I enjoy it. So many people get
At least you're admitting it. At least you're admitting it, and not like talk. You know, like, oh well, I'm smoking on some Northern Lights. Who the fuck said Northern Lights?
A lot of bags since I've been going through my shit. So I don't know what it is, but I know it's been really awesome, and it's been a day, and it's been really nice to have around. So thank you, Alberto. Thank you.
Nice.
That's all I can say. Thanks for understanding too, guys. I'm sorry.
Angel smoking on some blackberry cheesecake. Wow. Never had that. Rob smoking on some what is it, Gary pie? Clover said Chill Dill is one of the only people to reach out to me with donations for John Sinclair family. Oh shit. Shout out to Chill. So I mean you guys have been on the show before, but still introduce yourselves and tell people about Michigan Weedsters again.
Rick, you want to go first?
Yeah, Rick Anstis. I'm one of the members of Michigan Weedsters, and you know, we're just really excited to be able to be at this point where we've come quite a ways. I mean, everybody in the state has come a long ways in regards to the caregiver program, and then maintaining it and keeping it from being remolded. I think, you know, Michigan Weedsters has a good chance now to actually be really heard, now that we haven't been noticed, heard, and listened to. But I think this opportunity gives us a stronger stake up against some of those that have come against us. You know, I still question where the hell Steve Lender is. I believe he's somewhere in Ohio doing some lobbying or that's what I've heard. But some horrible things have happened in our state. And if we don't have people there defending that and paying attention to it, it's just going to continue down the road of hypocrisy and and all the all the things we don't want, all the things we didn't vote for. And together, we can do something, even if it's making a point that changes the viewpoint of a legislator. Some of these people don't even understand the medical values still to date. And there's a freshman class in there now. So we have a lot of educating to do to these lawmakers so they understand the medical values and not the diluted recreational narrative that's current. And I think Michigan Weedsters will be able to really defend that well. Small businesses, caregivers, patients, home grows, even the home grows. They're just trying to dilute everything. I'm trying to think where is Germany just legalized, and I think they're allowed 3 plants to grow. Each citizen is allowed 3 plants. I think that's what I heard. So we have an amazing 12 plant count, home grow ability that is pretty impressive. And again, we have to defend it, or they're going to just say that it's not something we need. So that's my little bit.
I wish I had a soundboard set up. I'd be like,
My name is Latricia Matson. I'm one of the board members, proudly, to be in the Michigan Weedsters. I got involved with Amy Carter when I was working with her on Jaden's Law. Over time, our relationship grew, and our advocacy portion of experience grew. And as the patient and caregiver program started to dwindle, it become quite identifiable that we need to start growing away so that we become a stakeholder in Lansing, to be able to have the program to be heard in the first place. So as a minority group, it's really, really challenging to be able to get in and to have a legislator to speak with you, especially on the level when it comes to cannabis and medicine, especially with the stigma that's going around. So along the way, we had to come into a turning point where we had to pivot, and we had to start creating coalitions with other interest groups that also were fighting for their rights that they voted for in 2008 or 2018, whatever choice they decided to make. Those are the constituents of the state. So what we could do to start building more support in the program is start ideally collaborating with other special interest groups, social equity, labor, so on and so forth. Anybody that really is being treated difficultly in this space as they had a dream to come into it. Over time, we did start getting the support we needed. We started being annual with our events. We have been following all the guidelines at this point to become an association, which we are now an association. And we're doing that now so that way we can do more than what we've gotten. We got enough people who are willing and driven to start doing some real work. And we're here to talk about that today, and I'm excited to speak with you about it.
so yeah, this was the post that I seen that just, and everything about it, except like this is what really gets me. Support Michigan-owned cannabis businesses, but it's like, like the caregiver program doesn't have anything to do with business. Like, really.
So why does that trigger you?
It just, really, there's a lot of brands and everything that went away. They went, and they went straight back to caregivers, like it's, they gave their brand up, and,
Yeah, the short and skinny is they've dealt us a horrible hand. The state has. They've been indicted federally by the FBI and seen a conviction at the highest level. And I'll just keep saying it. I know I posted it. I feel like the state needs to be sued. we have all gotten that short end, billions and
I
billions
mean,
of dollars.
and for everybody that's tuned in right now, if you haven't heard, like I mean, this is just at a business level. I mean, well, the metric as far as licensed, cannabis businesses, they're talking about, uniting, bringing together the medical and the rec, right?
Yeah, that wouldn't affect caregivers.
Caregivers, yeah,
Caregivers
yeah.
are not affected by that. And what most people don't understand, because of course we passed the law and they made the rules. The caregiver program doesn't allow you to sell weed. It only allows you to collect back your costs.
Right.
So this concept of, I get a free ounce a month and anything else I want is so much an ounce, is not what the law was intended for. It wasn't intended to work that way. And they've left it alone.
Yeah.
And like Burke said, a lot of these guys who got into the metric system, after they were screwed out of all kinds of things there, they just went back to being caregivers. And, they're limited to their 72 plants, and, they can have their 5 patients. And my argument is there's no reason to touch that. That's what I want the state to understand, that we're good with that. That works out perfect for us. Thank you very much. You want to go regulate these other people that want to spend $1 million on a lobby so that it looks nice and hire,
right,
people to work their dispensaries? Well, you go right ahead. But the natural way it is the caregiver program. And
part of it,
the government's, just real quick, the government's been trying to get their hands into natural medicines for years and have never been able to. That's why your health food stores carry what they carry, and they're not FDA regulated products. They're not
dietary supplements.
Right.
Well, we as caregivers hold the responsibility to continue the message too. So sometimes we loosen up on that, and we don't continue to choke down the fact that down these people's throats, that we heal and we help people. We give people an option to have an alternative lifestyle and or life-saving ability to their ailment, and it's undeniable at this point. There's thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, however many cases. It's undeniable. And we're not spitting that message hard enough. We're allowing the big corporate bling and shiny packaging and shine and glory and fame dilute the fuck all out of that.
And it's a double-edged sword too, because the state did something that I thought they shouldn't have done, and that was when they started their metric system, they allowed caregivers to sell to dispensaries instead of allowing that program to fail, because it was doomed to fail, and redoing that program. They allowed caregivers to sell their product, and then they cut them off. So you had people who became caregivers in order to sell to this metric market, and they never should have been. Not that I don't want people to be able to get medicine. That's not the issue. The issue is how the state did it and what they did. It was never intended that a caregiver should sell to a dispensary.
Well, they got surprised. They had no idea we were such great fucking growers. When we had those old house bills, they would show these fucking little tiny plants and talk about this is going to be this and that. And I'm sitting there looking at them like, that's in veg.
But
what are you talking about?
This is the argument that everybody can have, though. Who's to say what is caregiver weed at this point? What's the standard? Is there a standard?
Yeah, you have to have a caregiver card registered with the state. That makes it caregiver weed. And New York and places, and this is the cool thing about legalizing weed amongst our 50 states, is places that came after us some of them did it properly. So New York legalized grows, didn't legalize dispensaries. Once they had grows in and growing and ready to produce product, they legalized dispensaries. Of course, it's all corrupt and it's all big corporations and MSOs, but they did it in the proper order. Michigan didn't know what they were doing. They had people who were too busy looking out for their own pocketbook, taking bribes, and you know.
They didn't believe that the rec was going to pass either. Under those at that time, they had no belief that would occur. That was not happening.
Right.
So
little did they know.
Yeah. No shit. And we need to be out there voting again. So I don't know for what, but something.
And somebody, well, I was just going to point. Somebody in Weedsters pointed out that there's only been 8 ballot initiatives by the people passed. And the interesting thing is that the Headley Amendment, which was done by the lawyer that was trying to pass the PRA, it was done by his father, and the the first medical marijuana program were the only 2 volunteer efforts to ever pass. Most of the time, you have to pay your signature collectors. So the fact that this is an up from the people volunteer effort, that the people said, we want to stop sending people to prison. We want a pathway to medicine. We want all of this stuff. The legislators have to listen, and they realize they have to listen because now, in order to make any changes, they got to come up with 3/4 of the vote in order to pass it. And that's kept it where it's at for a while. They've tried and they can't get there.
Yeah, it's going to take some real fancy footwork to do it because, it's got to go through House and Senate in the same way, right?
Right.
And everything that you're seeing right now is exactly how everything's connected and why it's important to do what we're doing right now. Is keep close to the voters in the state. And that would be the small business owners and the patients and caregivers, because those small business owners used to be caregivers, or they care about caregivers and they'll actually be more beneficial to help with anything that needed to be involved with. And we do see harmonious relationships in that space now. Something that was actually I haven't seen in a while anyway, but it actually is helping us build our strength in numbers. And this is a conversation that we had when we were fighting 5512. 5512, we were too small. There wasn't enough of us. But that was a bill that all that really did was actually just feed the pockets of federal judges. That was the bottom line. Didn't matter where we were at standing in it. So like when you start looking in between the lines of some of these bills, someone's benefiting from them. And that's one of the things that we've been able really good to find out about. So we need to enter the door where those people are. We don't want to just find them in Lansing sitting in a regulatory meeting. We want to sit at the same table with these folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and
where we're stepping.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, we're good. I'm rant over. So.
I'm just thinking about a situation that is current. And I believe it's House Bill 4600 and 46001. But they're basically short and skinny, allowing, if that bill goes through, what they're asking for is a elected official like a municipality leader, a mayor, or a president of a village or a city or town. Their spouse could own equity in cannabis, which we wrote the law pretty specifically not to have that happen. And they would want to change that. And currently here in New Buffalo,
whatever. Otterman is regulatory, like actually it's Otterman and there's one other guy. It's 2 of the same guys that were sitting in committee during the regulatory committee for the anti-caregiver bills. And both of them were sitting in that room at the time talking about how, rules and ethics and blah, blah, blah. And they have been trying to press that bill for like the last 3 years. And they've put out, I think, 4 of them already. Nobody's like.
Yeah. Well, this one is, was brought up to me by Steve Carra, and he asked me about it, and I'm like, of course I don't like this, you know. So our current situation in Berrien County is we have a sitting sheriff who was appointed his position by a sheriff that has stepped down. And in New Buffalo, the president had recently granted 50 licenses. I think 30 of them or something has come in, and then they put a moratorium on it because it got real crazy. It totally diluted rolling embers in my caregiver product in the Native American dispensary. Totally just shut me down. So along with, you know, I don't know how many's popped up now. There's at least 5 or 6 running in New Buffalo. But in other words, my concern is that sitting sheriff, his wife is the president of New Buffalo. She's done these deals with her township and these companies. And if he gets his election this November for sheriff, she could easily step away from that position as president and go into whatever equitable deal she may or may not have made with all those licenses. And
that's why I'm a big fan of a protest that I think that Michigan Weedsters should consider, and that is standing out in front of dispensaries that are owned by government officials or former prosecutors or former cops, just like the anti-abortion people stand out on the corner and hold up those horrible signs, that somebody should be standing up and with a sign and say, you know, the owner of this dispensary was the sheriff and he used to lock people up and now he's making money off of our backs. But we have come some way, and the ball keeps moving forward. Just recently, state employees have been allowed to smoke marijuana. Now we have the head of the CRA who's never smoked marijuana, according to him, and how he can control something he knows nothing. You know, he knows nothing of its effects other than what he's read in the paper. You know, I think it's a stretch.
How do we put a law into place, and then again the government gets to appoint all of the leadership over it? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially something so brand new. And of course, you need some people from that space.
That's because, and this is interesting. I've said this many times. I once had a conversation with Carl Levin. I said, me and my people are coming with a ballot initiative. This was back in the PRA days. And he said, you people can pass any law you want. Me and my people make the rules, and we're going to win every time. And that's part of the problem. And the reason that's the problem is because Michigan's voter initiative law only allows you to have one issue in that voter initiative law. So you could start a voter initiative that says you can't, you know, as a former government official, you can't own something. You know, they'd fight it and win probably in court because they have, you know, rights. But the ballot initiative couldn't say all the things we would have wanted it to say. It only could say what it said. So that's one of the problems with our ballot initiative system, is that we couldn't write out the plan and present the plan and say, this is how we'd like it to run.
That's kind of back-ass as well. I mean, it's cool that you have a ballot initiative, but yeah, if you can't be broad with your approach, what the fuck?
Well, I was just talking to Amy about this before we came on the show too, and she actually said to bring that up. So, people have been asking about MWA 1.1. That is our initiative. It's our association that explains who we are and what we're doing, and how we're protecting our rights and the state initiatives that we have in our state. So, and this is just something that's on the table. It's something that we've talked about for a while. Adam was talking about the initiative. There's only 26 states that actually have initiatives, and there's only, I think, 7 or 8 now. That's the last time I checked, that only allow for the ballot or for 3/4 vote. Now, there are only 2 other states, and I believe it's Arizona and California, that have amended that portion of their initiatives where if you have a ballot initiative, the only way that it can be amended is by another ballot initiative. So that is something that's been working well for them in their states. I have read some negative things too as well, because then it's harder to change if you want to as a group, or at least you have to wait until the next election. But in a way, it's very powerful because it keeps the power to people. There will be more ballot initiatives. There will be more of the tribal understanding of, what states want in the current, state at the time or whatever. So like that is one of the things that we have visually seen moving forward too, and starting to get information on that and whatnot too. There's so much to it, but this is just another way that we can grasp on as what we're doing to help protect our rights.
Oh, and you have to understand that the legislature hates ballot initiatives. They hate them.
Yeah.
They don't care. They
don't
care what they are either. They hate the ballot initiative, even if it's something they would agree with. The whole legislature hates it.
Well, they feel like they failed if they didn't put it in play themselves.
Yeah, so, they all have to show up to work.
Egos. Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of a trickle down effect all the way down to our court systems and our lawyers and our judges. And it's that swinging dick syndrome of their egos. And it becomes quickly apparent that there's little to do, nothing that matters about the people.
Well, and there are some communities that have found that they're making a lot of money off of marijuana being legal because they're getting that tax money where it was costing them a lot of money when it was illegal, because their cops were arresting all kinds of people and spending all kinds of money for small misdemeanors, even small felony amounts of marijuana. And they're spending money in their jails and they're doing all kinds of things. Now they're getting, the city of Ann Arbor got a check for like $400,000 the first time. And they went and redid their courthouse with it, upgraded some systems and things like that.
Right.
The money talks. So I understand why a place would want 50 licenses granted. But that doesn't make much sense when it comes to a business bottom line.
No, it's just to me, that whole thing there is just the way that I kind of said it. And I could be wrong, of course, but it really feels that way because Berrien County in general, Cass County, I don't know much about Van Buren, but Berrien and Cass County have nefarious for 35 years in many, many different ways. First, cannabis, for how our jail system operates, our court systems, our CPS, our health department, so forth. Shady shit.
Yeah, and that's the things that we're working on with Weedsters, CPS issues, and all other good stuff. Like it goes on and on, man. There's been so much stuff going on lately that we've been juggling. It's finally good to get to a point where we create committees and have other people control some of these topics too.
And when things happen, like with me, I got two older kids and they're in the high school. And of course, for some reason, twice this last year, they were pointed out singly and then I got a phone call saying, hey, can we get into their bag and look through their shit? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, even though it's kind of an invasion, but you did call. And nothing found, but it was all on the basis of there was a smell and order. They had a dog go through and sniff the lockers and they pinned their locker out, So, I mean, that kind of discriminative behavior, especially to a young child in high school, doesn't need to happen anymore. Needs to just stop. And Michigan Weedsters can fight for those things too. So there's a lot of things.
I do know that currently we're speaking with, I don't know if it was Leah, I believe. There is a bill going into process to stop CPS from charging parents or being involved with women in pregnancies who have or basically have THC in their system when they're when they deliver. So we have a lot of people with kids, yes, because the child was born with THC in their system, even with a patient card. So
Yeah, and it's different than, back to my kids, my two younger ones. One was born in a Catholic hospital and the other one wasn't. And the Catholic hospital reported us and the other one didn't. We had our card for both, and as CPS arrived and opened their case, they closed it just as fast. But nonetheless, it took that card. Even the second one was right at legalization, but still, some of these different counties, how they operate, are, pretty strong, hard-headed, and it's for a mother to be just coming.
Literally, like only a female can have a child. You know what I'm saying? It's such,
Yeah.
and like they're still taking people's kids away and not giving them back. They're looking for reasons. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I was really good to see that legislation's coming about, because that is too much shit. If I've ever heard anything. Next thing
Yeah,
you need
my
to work
wife,
cannabis
even,
use.
just days after coming home with the baby in CPS, and a cop shows up at your door wanting to run through your house and see what's in your refrigerator. I was happy to show him. I got real cocky. I said, yeah, we got lots of food. I said, this alcohol up here that's really green, that's medicine for somebody that's, fighting cancer right now. That's the only alcohol you'll see in here is medicine alcohol. And all this food and, all these happy children and too many damn toys and all those things. So now carry your ass out the door.
Man, that's one of my passions to see go down. I'll never forget when CPS came into my house, and it was a detective from out in No Said County where I'm at, who walked in my house after playing very kind, and I was stupid. I didn't know better. He walked in and he was like, "You're going to tell me right now that you did this, or next thing, or I'm gonna turn you in for abandonment for your children." And I mean, like, I'm just like in my 20s, a stupid kid, like nothing was horribly going on or whatever. It was, but like that was terrifying that somebody can use that power to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so glad this go down. It is joys, lots of joys.
Most people haven't dealt with CPS either, so they don't understand how they have no laws behind them. I mean, they have some laws, but they have supreme power, and they can do whatever they want. And when they came into my life, they were, okay, we understand what's going on here. We'll get your kids back to you as soon as we can. I'm going to come look at the house. Lady comes out, looks at the house, final investigation, whatever. And we're expecting to go pick up our kids. And she says, "Oh, you need a lock on this office door if this is where you keep your marijuana." And I'm like, "No, I don't. There's nothing in the law that says my weed has to be locked up." And she said, "Well, I'm a CPS worker, and I'm telling you that you want your kids back, you're going to put a lock on this door." And I said, "Can the key hang right here?" And I pointed to the door frame, right? Can I put it down there where the kids can reach the key? I mean, you want a lock on the door? I'll put a lock on the door. And she's like, "It needs a lock on the door, and you'll get your kids back tomorrow, because I won't let you go to the hardware store and buy a lock and put it on, which would have taken 20 minutes,
Yeah.
But they're supreme. They have the rights, and you don't.
Uh-huh.
And that's what makes me
get cocky at all.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just with something like this, of course, this has always been bundled in with heroin, crack cocaine, all those other things. So,
and that's why reschedule, not reschedule.
Right. Yeah.
I would personally, as the activist that I am, I would personally leave it at Schedule 1s, because that's asinine and ridiculous.
Right. Makes more sense.
And it makes them look like idiots than have it Schedule 3, or even a new Schedule 6 or whatever they were going to come up with, and put all THC products. It should be descheduled. Government should have nothing to do with it. This government should be worried about clean weed if they're worried about anything.
So I did one of those comments for the rescheduling, that 30-day window we had to put it in. And of course I said deschedule. And to my knowledge, there was a big following of a lot of people doing very similar. And I also caught that the DEA outsourced a third-party company, an analytic company, to do the statistic that said that about 92% of the population was for the rescheduling of things, which is not true. I just can't. You can't. There's no way it was 8% of us that got through.
Bracket. Look where I'm getting their survey numbers from. It's just like they did in Michigan, Traverse City.
Yeah,
it's about the survey question, and I've been part of many. Michigan Normal, I've been on the board for years, and they've paid for many surveys, polls through Bernie Porn and his polling company. And it's about how you ask the question. And you can formulate a question that will give you the answer you want. Just like the government used to give all kinds of money to people to do marijuana research, as long as they came out with an answer that proved a negative, they'd give you the money. Well, that was the game. You can ask the question a certain way so that, if you don't explain descheduling to people.
Right. So essentially, by me saying, just deschedule it, I still agree that it needs moved.
Right.
Yeah.
But they do look stupid when they compare it to heroin.
Yeah, they do.
Which technically opiates are not a Schedule 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Opiates are medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
cocaine is medicine.
We protected the poppy fields in Afghanistan with armed guards. I don't know why.
What?
I can't imagine why we would have done that.
Well,
create a fucking pandemic or epidemic here in the States. That's insane. Just to think about. I don't know.
Well, that's cartels. There's been cartels within it for a long time.
Well, there are cartels within our government too.
Oh yeah, those are the cartels.
The military cartel is the biggest. I believe they call it the military-industrial complex because cartel is left people on the other side.
Right. Right. Cops and robbers. Yeah.
Right. I always wanted to play the robber.
Yeah.
What's up, Bert?
Yeah, those are things people need to be engaged in. It's a voting year this year, so trying to vote somebody in that you can communicate with is a big thing. Able to communicate with your representation.
Even bigger than that, Rick, and I say this to you, and I say this to Latrish. Bert, he's out, but even bigger than that, we need to run for office. The people who are interested in this start running for office. Because Al Witt's the best example there is.
He's a monster. I love Al Witt. That guy.
Right. I mean,
well, who do you think should run?
Everybody.
I mean, like,
everybody with an in your
community. In your community, it's real simple. The easiest thing to get elected to is a school board in every community in the state. It takes the least amount of votes. So we should start by running for school board. Okay. And once you get on the school board, you'll become part of the machine. And once you're part of the machine, you got to figure out which cog is you are and which wheel they are. And, you just start moving up the ladder. And eventually you'll be Kamala Harris, who has to clean the internet of all the arrests you procured and all the people you put in prison. And you'll be running for president of the United States.
Right. You never know.
Like a day.
But
that's not it too. I mean, that's the thing is that I think the people in general across the entire nation want kind of what that trust, that trust that we're in somebody's hands that cares and that gives a shit and that's working at 3 a.m. to pass a law because it's important because somebody's on death row and it might help that situation, or there's a mother giving birth and if this isn't passed and done, this could be bad for whatever, those kind of things, instead of laws at 3 a.m. just because nobody's paying attention and they're sliding something in it to get it passed. We need different representation. People are ready for that.
Well, and it's slowly happening. I mean, I hate the example I use, but when Kwame Kilpatrick decided to run for mayor of Detroit, I was really excited because a guy my age at the time was about to be mayor of Detroit. And I was used to old men being mayors of Detroit. And I used to tell people, me and my people we're about to take over. Now, I wasn't expecting what I got, but it was nice to have a 30-year-old running a city that used to be run by staunchy old men that were.
Yeah, again, right back to Al Witt. I mean,
right.
That whole situation, everything that he did and went through to get there, and then to be there and now doing it. That's
well.
Amazing.
I would also say if Al Witt didn't go through what he went through, he probably wouldn't have gotten elected.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I mean, it takes the whole process.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the drive behind it. Absolutely, it's a purpose behind this push. Absolutely.
And he's the professional. I mean, and he'll tell you. Other politicians have come to him to ask the weed question because they know he knows.
Yeah, he's got a big old gold nugget on his chest. So yeah, definitely, that's good. But the more of those we get across the state and across the nation, the better off we are. We need a change in that whole dynamic. But I think you're right. That lower level can start the ball rolling, whether it's a school board or what have you.
It's also about changing attitudes, and as long as a law, a rule, an initiative, whatever, moves the ball forward, it's a good thing because we're changing attitudes. And at this point, if you have a legal problem and the answer, and it's about weed, you want a jury trial because the jury's going to be like, I thought weed was legal. And the prosecutors or the judge is going to explain the law and going to explain the jury instructions. And then these people are going to go into a room and they're going to nullify what the prosecutor's trying to do because they're going to be like, the state legalized weed and now they're giving this guy a hard time because he's trying to move 500 pounds across the state. I mean, I know it's illegal, but still, we've already come to the conclusion that this is okay.
Well, and that's part of the problem with the laws and the rules and the regulations in the CRA versus our recreational rights. It can be slapped on the hand for a crazy amount of plants and or product as a citizen, but then as a caregiver or as anything that's licensed, it's a whole different oversight.
Right, and we still,
or
what do you know about the third-party lab? Have you looked into that at all recently?
About me? What?
About there was appropriations put in place so that way the state can build their third-party lab facility.
Yeah, that's
tell me about that.
That's a comparison lab. That's so they can test and make sure that what's happening out there is the truth and it's not a Virtus issue. That's Virtus came up with their own method And when they got caught, they said, well, we have this method.
Proprietary. It's proprietary.
Proprietary. And they said, well, we have this method that, and the reason our numbers come out a little higher is because we also take into consideration the marijuana being grown like by caregivers, which isn't part of the system. So, you know, we consider that. And you have to remember that the guy that owns Weedsters was already shit canned by the state because he was running a crummy lab there. And
for the state police.
Right. He's the guy that decided.
They add that in there. Tons of rape pits.
And he just
they tested a lot of weed before they decided to get fired.
Oh yeah, but he's also the guy that decided that anything. He's the guy that decided that anything that wasn't obviously marijuana was a, I forget what they call it. Sorry.
Is there music playing?
No.
Getting some kind of feedback.
Oh. Yeah, I think too. I thought it was my wall or something. It's weird.
All right. It might actually be coming from somewhere in the room I'm in, but I have no idea. That's interesting.
Check 1, check 2.
No, it's me because I can hear it.
All right.
Anyways, we'll have to deal with it. but the state lab's going to be interesting because they're going to use that to, in my opinion, send in secret shoppers to dispensaries.
Oh no, it's Rick. It's totally Rick.
They're going
to
send in secret shoppers, and they're going to start bringing product into the lab and seeing who's got metric stickers that don't agree with what the results are on their lab. And that's going to cause big problems because
they're going through California right now. They actually like fucking suspended or they revoked licenses for one of the labs over fake results. Like, why aren't they doing that shit here? Why don't they have like a baseline fucking this is how you test weed? These are the results.
No one knows what he's saying what the truth is. So they're gonna write a standard, is what they're gonna do.
Except that's not how testing works. Testing is done, once you understand how the testing works, you understand that each lab is going to produce separate results or different results just because of comparison to numbers that they already have.
How they process it, right?
And how things are processed. If things are a couple of degrees off here or there, it's going to change the outcome of the test. There's all kinds of factors, but when your product has a label that says may vary by 10%, and the state either allows it or requires that on the label, I think you got a big problem because that means that your 30% weed might only be 20%. And very few weed is 30%, let alone 32 that I've seen. And Cass Coleman has said and explained in the past that, this stuff sitting on the shelves is changing from when it was tested. So that mold that didn't show up in the test or might have been under the level for the test has now sat in a bag on a shelf for 3, 4, 5, 6 months and continues to grow.
That's why they need to put pre-rolls in humidors to keep it where it was when it was tested.
Well, but the pre-roll is still 2.5 months old.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget, if you smoked caregiver weed, you were smoking fresh weed. It got cropped, it got cut, it got trimmed, and you got it a week later, 2 weeks later most. Now you're getting stuff 2 months later, 3 months later.
8 last
I
night.
mean,
So it's very gross.
I know of a company that literally had 2.5 years worth of weed in their basement because they were able to buy weed from a bunch of people going out of business. And, the people, listen, people shop in their neighborhoods. They find brands that they like. They're, and these are people that have never smoked brickweed from Mexico that was literally 9% THC, but filled with terpenes. And that's when, that's the new education is terpenes. And once we stop talking about THC ratios and start talking about terpenes, people will understand this a lot better. But
see, I mean, there's reasons why, people are going to Veritas and shit, they'll get higher results, blah, 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 blah. But in California, they're faking results about not having pesticides and,
right.
Like potentially dangerous things,
But they need to use pesticides because most of their stuff is outdoor grown weed. So they need to use the legal.
Well, they're saying a specific kind.
Right.
I said it several times.
Right. No. I mean, I'm a fan of DDT because that got rid of mosquitoes, and I hate mosquitoes, but it kills people, so the government won't let us use it. But this is the same government that used to spray the crops in Mexico with paraquat. And I have a hat with a paraquat patch on it, and it's in a plastic bag in my house, and the hat is literally crumbling, like disintegrating. Because I assumed that the guy in the airplane was wearing the hat, flying through these clouds of paraquat.
Wow.
Now the government doesn't want people to get sick when they smoke weed, but they also did at one time. I mean, again, I would think that an honorable grower or an honorable company would never dream of using anything that was harmful. Just wouldn't do it.
Right.
It's not about risking their life.
Right. Out. Right.
Figure out what the problem
is. You don't do it at all. Right. Exactly. That's the challenge. So that's what I'm saying. Like everybody's trying to clean it up, but I think that there should be a craft grower license once they figure this out. I think that people should still be able to sell to dispensaries because then it's going to force businesses to show what they are to be improved. Like, if a craft grower grows and cocoa and does this, and the next thing, they're going to be able to sell an ounce for like $600 if they wanted to, depending on how much the baby, right? Now it's going to create a class of growers, and now people are going to start identifying weed with, the magician. Right now, we don't know shit, and at this point, but even like a lot of these businesses don't even like. I feel like they should be sharing their growers more often, their grower stories, like their grows in general, and talk about what it is that they're growing and how they're doing it. There's no one out there really. I can't say no one, not many, but a craft grower's license is going to create a standard that they are going to be forced into. If not, everything's going to be Walmart weed. I mean, it already is right now anyway, because there's no regulatory process for them to have to identify what they're doing in the first place anyway. So the craft goes from there.
And one of the sad things is that all these big companies brought in caregivers as growers. They all brought in caregivers. A lot of these people claim to be
caregivers, not all of them. Some of them pretend to be.
No, right. But a lot of them claim to be master growers, which, unless you went through the MSU extension program, master grower is a term that they have trademarked, and you're not a master grower. There's no such thing in weed. It's an extension service title. And the caregiver who became a grower for whatever company, he was just looking for a job. and his name no longer is on anything. And your craft grower license would allow for that. But I point out what happened with craft beer, and that is that there are very few craft beer companies that are not owned by the large alcohol companies.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
nine out of 10 of them become bought out. Yeah.
Right, and the same thing would happen in weed. However, you would know that the Rick Antis weed was bought by, you name the, the Al Witt brand, and Al Witt carries, and he's the only place you can get Rick Antis weed. So
right.
you have a
got
chance.
And St. Julian too. I mean, if you look outside of alcohol or that space anyway, you have wine in general too. And that started from a small craft brew. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're not even at the tip of the iceberg right now. There's shit.
The micro, in my personal opinion, I think the event license, now that we really see it, how it's unfolded, it's completely useless. The complete trash. That is a fucking trash license.
Juice and some dry weed and saying it's a premium cut
license that people use, yeah, because you don't need it. You just hold fucking music festivals. You have gatherings and family picnics and fucking barbecues, and who gives a fuck? That's what you do. You're good.
Well, I'd like to see a law change that allows for indoor smoking. New York passed a law that said you could smoke weed anywhere you could smoke a cigarette. They had to change that law because they found that people were going into the parks and smoking weed in the parks, and they didn't want people smoking weed in the parks. So they changed the law to exempt the parks, but anywhere you can smoke a cigarette walking down the street, you can smoke a joint. And
I feel like if there's sales or whatever, that license might have value. But we've also seen in these events that have held, even mine included, you don't get a lot of fucking sales at these events that are licensed. So the bigger companies going into these,
and you have to pay to get your weed. What the fuck is the point? They
got to pay to get it in and out. It's fucking jerk me. Yeah, so you might as well just partake in other aspects like music festivals or gala racers or competitions. Those are things. So the state's got their head up their ass, but imagine that.
These are also, don't forget, these are people that have never been to a rave. And I would love to see that type of license where you could rent a warehouse, you could smoke in the warehouse, and then you could leave and not be a problem. Instead,
it hasn't been for the years we've been doing it underground. So, fuck it. Yeah, why not have
too much about it?
The Detroit got. I haven't really been over to Detroit, but when I went over to Tangent and seen the Michigan Glass Project and shit, there's so much cool shit over there. So many cool buildings to do tons of cool shit, which I'm sure happened.
Right, but Tangent Gallery still won't let you smoke indoors because they have a liquor license, and that would put the liquor license at risk. And there's a way to deal with that. You put your liquor license in escrow for the night, and now the cops don't have the right to come in. They get a warrant, and you can allow anything you want. Because you're private.
That's a good piece of information. Thanks, Adam. I didn't know you could do that.
And I'll give you another dinger. Ready? The bingo license allows you to smoke inside. So when they passed the bingo law, when they passed the no smoking inside law, they said, well, we got all these bingo lounges that all these old people are sitting at, smoking, chain smoking cigarettes all day long. Let's make it so that you can smoke in the bingo hall. And as a 501c3, I think that's what you said Weedsters was, as a nonprofit, you'll be able to pull not only liquor licenses, if you ever want an event with a liquor license, but you'll be able to put bingo license. So that allows for the legal smoking.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. We're playing bingo all the time.
That license is only like $1,000 too for bingo license, so
right.
you make
Like, it was fun. Do it again.
because I kind of had curiosity about. I've been seeing a lot of places and people doing bingo things, and it looks like there are some loopholes. But according to the Gaming Commission, from what I read, if you do hold a bingo thing, it needs to have a residence or a space that it's going to be happening, and they need to know that location ahead of time and when it's and it's cool, but you pay for that license to do so. Hey,
man, somebody already thought of that, huh?
Yeah.
How did that sneak past?
It didn't. That's how they
bingo.
No, it was because they knew that they would have outrage if these bingo halls couldn't allow smoking.
Yeah, these old.
And don't forget the non-smoking. The non-smoking
rage.
What did you say?
I said, did you say bingo rage?
Yeah, bingo rage.
So sorry.
But the non-smoking law was passed to protect the worker. That's what that was about. That it didn't make much sense at the time, but we know that secondhand smoke is dangerous, and should a waiter or waitress have to work in that community, in that environment, well, if they want that job, I guess maybe they should, but that's my opinion. The state didn't agree with me, and they passed this anti-smoking bill, but they kind of grandfathered in bingo, which
yeah, smoking, whatever's rolled in your paper there,
not really, Rick, to be honest with you. If you've ever been in an elevator and you read the sign, it says no smoking of tobacco. That law says is specific to tobacco when there's no smoking in elevator. So I always took pleasure in tall buildings, lighting up a joint in the elevator real quick, taking a couple hits because it wasn't illegal. According to what I read on the wall here, it's tobacco.
Right.
Red Setter Farms says we need a cannabis cottage law.
Well, cottage laws are a problem because, like the home cottage law, you can only make so much money. I think it's $15,000, $18,000, and then you have to move out of your cottage industry and become a real licensed business.
Oh, yeah.
So,
or a grower license.
Well,
one in between. That's what we're talking about. Like there should be something there. Don't you agree?
Well, I think if I can grow 1,000 plants in my warehouse, I should be allowed to do that. The problem, you can't scale up from 72 to 1,000. And the people that opened up these grow facilities didn't know that, most of them, because they were investors. They weren't cannabis people or weed people.
Yeah.
And
when the real growers tried to tell them that they should do it a certain way, they ended up firing them. And,
took their information.
Putting whoever would listen in that place.
Yeah, I'm aware of a couple situations.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like everything leads to being able to perform, right?
Make
That's why
25K.
you gotta have people see better, do better, whatever. It's because not people have the ability to perform that have the talent. So build another license. Somehow there's got to be some gap. Just thinking out loud, not saying it. Or we take it south.
That's true in other industries also.
Like you said earlier, is that the way that a lot of people operate within the caregiver space is outside of its written law as it starts. So, I mean, we really did all this to not look over our shoulder, and try and find a way to not do that, not look over and see that I have to
Right.
worry about anything.
Right.
So we need something that gives us that peace of mind and that ease and the ability to prosper. And if we have a brand, to accelerate it in a space that everybody else is accelerating it.
Yeah, the opportunity is not available for the next step for people who succeed in that space. You know what I'm saying? So now I just feel like since there's not any regulatory recourse on these big companies to have to share specifics, and I mean, like the back of a tube is the biggest joke I've ever seen. Like you get to look at a number, it's still like the big mystery, and nobody's saying anything. It's just kind of going by. Like we should be able to see this information. And speaking of which, Adam, you were right too about not being able to see what penalties people are receiving for the disciplinary measures. And now you can't see who the owners are of the license. Before, if a capital group would have like 6 or 7 different names below it, especially on C stacks, because they're usually from like um, out of state capitalist groups, basically. So it's always nice to kind of like follow them and find out where they're at and where they're stacking their chips and what states and whatnot too. And how we can't even get that information anymore. So it's really hard to follow them. It's making it much harder. Why they're taking away our freedom of information from there. It's kind of interesting to see how we keep on like falling off the ladder here with that.
Doesn't the state still publish who they fine and how much and for what reason every month?
They codified it now where it can fall within the guises of these certain spectrums, but there is nothing that specifies like the exact specifics.
I just like to see who's getting fined.
Somebody in the comments with the name Random Results. This says, is anybody really going for this malarkey right now?
Which malarkey is that?
I don't know. You've been everywhere talking about everything.
I mean, sorry.
Damn.
It's 420 in Amsterdam, dude.
Oh, shit. Shout out to Amsterdam. I'll have to make it there one day. I wish I could take my own weed to Amsterdam. That'd be the way.
You can. That's how guys used to win the cannabis cup.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, people go to Spanibus, so they must have a way. Where there's, I'm sure there's.
You put it in your suitcase. The Dutch don't care.
So, Berg, do you get what we're doing?
What?
I said, do you get what we're doing now, or do you have any more questions?
Oh, I mean, no, not really. I mean, yeah, I understand, but
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, nothing's going to go backwards. I know that. As we move forward, a lot of things that happened with medical, recreational, all the different things, and we didn't like it at the time, or as we seen it coming. But again, like we're here, so we still have to navigate the now, which is this space, and it includes a lot of our people that we've loved and worked with for years and supported, and they've helped us. And I mean, Michael Tui, Al Witt, we can, there's a whole list of people that we could go through that deserve the space that we're working in right now.
And we also have a stakeholder position now. We're able to sit down in work groups and be called by legislators to talk about things like the recent bill we're just talking about, the combination of medical and the recreational. Why are we in that conversation? Because it's important to see if it affects us in any way. And we do have some words from other members in the board that have identified some issues that could possibly do some issues, cause some problems. So, I mean, just a little bit of here and there, but I'm just saying, like, it's not a perfect program. It's being built on many different facets, and we have a lot of different people in the community that are collaborating, and the unity's actually, and the ability to like grow this, being able to have the support and feel like people care is awesome. So I'm gonna just keep going no matter what, you know.
And I haven't seen anybody else in the space really stand up with a group or a collective trying to make the same attempt since the House bills. It's gotten real quiet. And, you know, somebody's got to step into it. And we're asking for everybody to be involved in it. You know, put your 2 cents in and talk about it. You know, we'll all make collective sense of what we have to deal with. You know, we've already gone past what we want, but we can still get to something that we still may want, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
innovate.
You know, get rolled over either way, but
right.
I don't want to be rolled over. I've already been rolled over a few times. It fucking hurts. It's on gravel and all kinds of shit. Slid, drug across the road, all those fucking shitty things.
No, it's interesting. You got other people in different states who are looking to try to open up their own branches of the Weedsters too. And it's not that we try to be a leadership role in any of those spaces. It just happened to kind of roll out the way that we've been doing it. And now other people in different states in these programs want to have something that they can look at as a model to be able to defeat the same issues that they have going on in other states that we've had here, which is kind of by design what helps people succeed, especially in these spaces who will eventually receive the same treatment. So it is something that's growing and building over time, but at the same time too, for us to be able to get the numbers to protect what it is voted for, and it's for patients and caregivers to be able to do what they're doing. And if there are other things that have to be done to be able to protect that, there's other layers of onions of work that needs to be done for us to protect that. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, and we're learning as we go, and as we learn, we're knowing how to navigate these things better, especially at the state level. Making those connections with the people that can be influential enough to make the change or defeat the change that is on its way, you know, whatever that might be. Nobody else is really doing that in our space, and we need it. We got Michigan Normal, but I just you know, we need
isn't there different
ASA as well?
I want to say there's different. Is there a Detroit or a Motor City Normal too, or something, or is that you're muted, Adam?
There was a Motor City been on a hiatus for a bit, but they're trying to pull it back together. Normal's a consumer advocacy group, so they would fight for the consumer, whether it's a consumer of metric product or caregiver product. Someone mentioned ASA. They were about safe access for medical patients. And remember, a lot of people kept hands off of the recreational issue. And this used to piss the shit out of John Sinclair because all he wanted to do was get high. And there's no reason that shouldn't be the only reason you want to smoke weed. It's completely harmless. And if that's what you want to do, you should be allowed to do it. And he was deeply offended by the concept of the foot in the door with the medical program, which, you know, they used to accuse us, oh, you're just trying to get your foot in the door so that you can legalize weed. And we would all say, oh, no, it's about patients. And we're trying to get sick people, you know, their medicine, which was true, of course. But the whole truth was once we had our foot in the door, we were going to push the door open a little farther and we were going to eventually walk right in. You know,
well, because the it goes to a bigger, you know, we're just talking about that state level thing. It goes back to the 80 to 100 years of oppression by our government, and the straight lies. And you take those lies and you ball them up with all the felony convictions, and all the fathers ripped away from their daughters and sons at a young age, just to go to prison for cannabis things. The dogs that were shot when the cops kicked the door in, uh, the wrongful deaths that, on all the raids for whatever, just all of that in the name of this plant being bad, and so bad that they have to act in such a fashion around it. Again, yeah, without the people's voice in that, the
I
government
mean,
doesn't.
people are still getting executed in certain countries, man, over weed.
Well,
that shit's insane to me.
Absolutely. And we got people like Randy Lanier, who's an amazing story, which I'm sure most have heard something to do with him, but to be locked up for that long, and then to be able to come out of that and be so inspirational and have a drive to help the remaining people that are in federal prison is just a testament to our caregiver program, the plant, the essence of this community. So, we're a special group of people, and we just should stay together. And we find ourselves dividing more and more, all in little different ways, and we got to find a way to not so much.
Build a bridge so we can get there.
Yeah. At least through conversation, because
like this
it allows you to get to a place of understanding. Some people hear something or be told something, and that'll be that, and they never go to the other side or the source to get that other side of the question that may be at hand. So
a lot of people just ask themselves why things are the way they are. You know what I mean? They just accept it.
Yeah.
That's where we kind of open up the door for that.
Yeah, but we are strong together. I mean, I don't know how many people remember or seen how many people came to the Capitol to get medical, but that was a drove of people to come to the Capitol and push for that, and keeping that narrative out there about the medical aspects of this plant and the continued success that it has in people's lives is the only real shield we have. Like, it's the best shield we have. And it's not necessarily like any kind of proxy or anything. It's just the truth. I'm not holding up a small child that's been saved by cannabis like this. I'm showing you, look at this child that has been saved by cannabis. This is amazing. You guys are amazed by all kinds of shit. But you're not amazed by this?
Well, and I don't
come
believe,
on.
And I don't
and say
believe
for everybody, no, that's where we need them.
But I also don't believe they believe the lies of the past. I used to carry in my pocket a whole two-sided sheet of paper of Anslinger quotes. Because they were offensive, I would read them. But the fact that that was what the government was basing, their laws on just made them look stupid. And when you're talking to a group of people and you show them that the government used to say these ridiculous things, I mean, it just rubs it in their face at how stupid they are, which is why I would prefer keeping it a Schedule 1 as opposed to rescheduling it to schedule anything else, because it makes them look ridiculous. And when it comes time, they will deschedule. Unfortunately, they're not doing anything. And I don't believe the federal government will do anything for a long time. Because as soon as they schedule, they've got 50 states with 50 laws. And if you know anything about the federal government, their own control only is through interstate.
It's more than 50 laws. It's
but I'm saying
multiple laws. Yeah.
Right. And now I would be all for a federal tax stamp if you're going to cross state lines with weed. I have no problem with that. And that makes sense to me. Let them get their little piece if you're moving across state lines, which is what the federal government was set up to do. But this talk of adding a 5% tax in some states is going to take it from a 37% tax or a 40% tax to a 45% tax. And that's just outrageous. Michigan doesn't tax any other medicine except marijuana. They have a law that calls it medicine, and the only medicine that's taxed is marijuana. We're still treated like the redheaded stepchild, which, no offense to the redheads out there. We love gingers, but
medicine is not what we should be doing ever. So it's another thing. And I forget exactly which piece it is, but for small business, there's a particular tax thing that doesn't allow them to write off shit, and creating havoc and losses left and right. And
no, because Red Setters said there's a cottage law or whatever. So
well, we already have a cottage.
It's 25,000. It's
right.
Not 12. It's 25,000.
They upped it, right? Yeah. But we already have a cottage industry law. It's just that
it's just saying incorporate.
Right. They need to incorporate marijuana into that cottage industry.
Yeah.
And then you need to out of the money.
That'd be super awesome. Go get some apples. Bag of weed at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, bring it. A sandwich. That would be heaven.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, well, let's figure it out. I'll Red Setter that we need to write down everything and figure it out how we can make it happen. Go team. Work on it.
Yep. Thing, is snowballing those ideas as a Michigan Weedster. You're free to voice your opinion and come in and talk to us.
It just says businesses. I'm just wondering, like, what businesses. But I'm sure you'll let us know, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and there too, there's, like, for instance, as this goes along, there's things that you'll start seeing, like Calvin Johnson, for instance. I'll give an instance. I wasn't too sure about it. Like, another celebrity, another this, another that. He's breaking stigmas, bro. He's in the fucking news. He's in the national news. He's getting into the NFL and the NBA and all these things with his products. And that's great because it wiggles in. This Randy Lanier thing with the racing, and if that perpetuates more, if there's more racing with cannabis sponsorship on the cars and not just on the walls, perpetuates it a little bit more. But along with that, as we do that, we have to keep bringing that message of the healing and the medicine and why it's really here. Recreational is those are all things, and businesses are things that we need, but it all comes from this base point of the medicine. And for those who need the medicine, it should be very fucking accessible. Very accessible.
Right. I think you're asking too is how does all this help caregivers? Is that right?
$1 billion fucking recreational business in the state of, and our patients are struggling to find medicine. Fuck that. No.
Well, same thing too. It's this. Okay, so there are bad actors. We all know that, and there are people out there that are caregivers. All this is going to do basically is what we're going for is figuring out a space for both of them. So we got the real ones, and then we got the ones that have different intentions, whatever that might be. That's fine. Fact is that there's a lot of caregivers out there that actually want to make money off of growing too as well, right? There are. What this is going to do is it's actually going to solidify what a caregiver is and what they're doing to help patients and caregivers. For example, I don't know very many caregivers that talk about what their medicine is. Isn't that what's supposed to be happening? I'm out here busting my ass. We're all busting our asses right now.
Man, I wish Red Setter Farms had a link.
What's that?
I wish Red Center Farms could pop on here real quick.
You should.
I don't feel like reading all that shit.
No, and I mean, his point. He's right with his point that there should be a way for the guy that in the example that he's really trying to make it. If you grow corn or you grow potatoes or you grow tomatoes, you can set up a little stand at the road out in front of your little farm, and you don't even have to man it. People will come and pay and take what they bought and be honest about it. I wouldn't recommend that with weed, but the point is, that I would man my tent. But
check your Instagram, Red Sutter.
The point is though, once you start growing enough tomatoes, enough corn, then the U.S. Agricultural Department is going to get involved, and that's what's happened when it comes to farming. You know, we always used to say we want weed to be treated like tomatoes. Well, no, we really don't.
Well, and that's something else too. A lot of people don't understand with like the farmers. I'm over here. We're Farm City. You know, it's lots of farms. And from when I was younger to now, I grew up on a 250-acre farm. It was corn, beans, about 500 head of hog, 200 sheep. You know, decent farm. But now most of the ones that have survived all the farming woes through the years have 1,000 acres. So like they're all pretty big.
Well,
so there's a difference in between of that cottage and what you know you can even afford to be as a licensed person.
They're also being forced to grow a particular corn from a particular company like Monsanto. And as soon as the pollen drifts into the neighbor's farm, Monsanto goes and sues the neighbor for growing their corn. And then they say,
it's
okay,
genetically modified.
Right. I'll give in and I'll grow your corn instead, because in the end I sell it, so it doesn't matter. And you can see in these farm communities, every lot has a sign in front of it. It tells you exactly what brand and, you know, what specific product they're growing and who actually owns the genetics.
Yeah, no, it's got the name on it, and usually there's a 5 to 7 digit number underneath there, and that's probably their best seed, and that's, you know, testing.
Yeah. But in the end, that's all modern stuff. I'd like to start where we are now, and if that's what happens to weed in 100 years, so be it. But 100 years ago, that wasn't happening with corn or potatoes or tomatoes. You know, that's a whole modern thing.
Well, that's what Red Setter's getting at too. It was another sustainable option for a person that doesn't want to go work for somebody else, you know. So having a cottage law might be able to help you sustain where you don't have to, you know, go break your back in a factory all the time or what have you, you know. So that's part of our American options. We should get some better options to be able to entrepreneur and be free like that.
Genetic Memory Farms. Question for Michigan Weedsters. Do you have any interest in expanding to more states as an umbrella group for home grow advocacy? Advocacy. You know what I'm saying. Advocacy. And lobbying. And lobbying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's the word I was just talking about. There's other people in different states right now who are looking to find a model to grow from.
Yeah, Illinois.
Not the perfect model, but we're working on that too.
Does Michigan Weedsters plan on having its own lobbyists?
Yes.
Are one of you going to register as a lobbyist?
As soon as we start sitting down and talking about committees and information and what you're lobbying for, who's going to be doing that and who's going to be talking about that. So we have to go through some growth before we can actually make a decision like that right off the bat. But now this is going to give us the ability to do so and actually have the funding to get there. You know what I mean? Like a lot of our holdback is that we're all broke as shit. You know what I mean? Like going back and forth and going to events every weekend really, really hurt for a lot of us, you know, but we're still going. And this is just going to be able to lift us up a whole hell lot more than what we were doing because everybody's driven. We're all ready. We're ready to listening and opening our ears to what a lot of people have to say and do. And right now we have the tools that we need to start getting some real work done.
Yeah. And we got the different voices needed as well from the different perspectives, whether it be Ryan, Amy, Latrish, Jamie, you know, whoever perspective at hand with whatever situation, you know, we have somebody that can handle and focus on most anything, I really feel. So still miss Rick Thompson's ability to speak. That guy get it done.
Organizing.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Berg?
Pretty fucking high. How are you?
Say Berg's high as a kite.
Good. Yeah, and his is better than mine. Hell, he's usually like half falls asleep generally, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That I don't have my nap glasses with me at the hospital, so I couldn't take a nap during this one. But that's okay. I don't mind staying awake.
You're feeling pretty
out or not is what I'm worrying about.
Yeah. But overall, you're feeling pretty good?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm dealing with some blood issues, health issues that you know, put you, but I'll be out hopefully tomorrow, maybe the next day. Trying to avoid some surgery, but I enjoy propofol, so if I can get the surgery, great. If not,
they said that they're in Illinois and they don't have any advocates in Illinois or lobbyists that are supporting home growers.
Yeah, there's what is the one I just spoke with this dude? He's coming out to our event in September. There's a group over there, but basically what he's doing is helping people kind of get off of harder drugs. So he's providing kind of a halfway house situation over there that allows people to come in at their worst spot of, you know, even coming down from a high, and administering RSO, providing that physical transfer from something like heroin. From what I've guessed, or from what I've heard, is that there's a lot of physical withdrawal right after that, a lot of pain, and RSO really helps ease some of that for the people. And then once they get kind of past that, and they're in that stage of a couple days later where they're feeling like they want to go do it again, they can take a huge dab and it reverses it.
It's the worst flu you ever had.
Yeah.
Getting off.
Yeah, I don't. I've never had an opioid. I might have taken something that a doctor's given me at some point, but I don't know the buzz or the feeling.
Genetic Memory Farms asks an important question, which I'll ask it for them. How would somebody contact Michigan Weedsters if they wanted to?
Right now, you can contact us directly through our email at michiganweedsters@gmail.com. You can also go to the website, which is michiganweedsters.com. And if you want to become a member and contact us through there, then you would go through MW8.1. And that is where you can sign up there. Or if you need just to reach us directly to talk about building another Weedsters program in a different state, just reach us at our email and I'll contact you back. We're getting a phone number soon. We actually have it right now. We just have to register it under the name and stuff. So
cool.
Slowly but surely. Had some
Yeah.
setbacks.
One step at a time.
You know,
Right.
it's step. Um, and it's always collective too. It's never, one person or one group. It's always a collective that moves the mountain. And that's what we're trying to build. We can have our differences. Lots of people do, and we had our differences back in 2008 and 2018, but we found a way to take those differences and wiggle them to a positive forward march. And that's where we've really stopped. Like since rec, it's just kind of killed all that forward momentum. And we've got a lot of division with other political overlays in our lives. And we just need to focus back together on the cannabis side of things to really move the ball past the goalpost. I mean, we haven't won anything, really. We haven't won a whole lot of things yet. There's still more that we got in a law that's overregulated and in the hands of somebody else. So now we got to take the hands and guide it a little bit. So, but we're not sitting on ours. I can guarantee you that. Well, we sit on, there's other shit's gonna happen.
I'm still waiting to smoke a joint with the head of the CRA.
Fuck
so now that he's allowed to, I mean, we had.
you did that on the Capitol stuff not too long ago. I'm sure you could accomplish that, Adam Brooke.
Well, he's got. I mean, I stood next to Debbie Dingle at Hash Bash one year, and I was smoking, and every you pass your joint, right? So I kept offering her a hit, and she kept saying no. But I still was polite throughout the event, offered her a hit here and there. But yeah, I mean, I've smoked weed with plenty of state senators, and the cool thing is that a lot of people can't come forward with their cannabis use because of their position, but they don't hide it.
Right.
They just don't come public. So I know pretty high up state officials that are in a room full of people smoking cannabis. And
even the golf outing that I hold, the one in the spring, I had 3 House representatives, a Democrat, 2 Republicans, somebody running for the U.S. Congress, in the U.S. Senate, and a mayor and 2 Congress. So,
to send them all home with goodie bags.
Yeah, well, they all like the things, and even the mayor and his wife and things like that. But they don't even have to necessarily partake in it. They can still come and see the atmosphere and understand the constituency. Like Brad and Steve both don't smoke. They're House representatives, and that's fine.
Drink, I'm sure.
Still come and us and understand where all this comes from, and that gives them a power, I think, as a representation of the constituency. Otherwise, we're forgotten. You go back into the strong religious beliefs and what really runs the 2 parties and things like that. We get lost in the track. So I always like when they engage like that. Of course, I ask them and I bug the fuck with them, but they come through. So some of them.
Don't forget,
of them, whatever. Like Dana Nessel, I think that was just a aim for her reelection, and that's cool. I mean, got some powerful things out of, and I don't think personally the other person would have won. We would be in the same position right now. I think a lot of us would be probably in jail. So,
well, don't forget that our vice president, when asked if she smoked marijuana, smirked about it and giggled. So,
100
I
people.
heard she used to listen to Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah.
And smoke weed.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Wow.
But they were like writing the songs about her as she was.
When politics is involved, all bets are off because, you got to do what's good for your career, not necessarily tell the truth. It's a different game.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's crazy, but again, if we don't have any stake in there, it just gets to stir its own pot. We don't get to be the ones that stir the pot and tell them cocksuckers they're acting wrong. So whether we win it or not, we may not win the argument, but if there's nobody there to put the argument in play, then there's no argument. They just keep footballing us and we're fucked. So fuck that feeling.
So tell us about your event in September before we end this.
Another Big Cloud event, and be the Cure Cup again, and getting entries in. Got quite a few vendors booking music. Same vibe. Obviously, there's different vibe with one less person involved, two less people involved. But
Rick, what are the rally dates? I've been so distant lately with everything that's going on. What are the rally dates this year?
September 12th.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was right.
Yep. And
their time too.
Yeah, and again, we always want people to come to those, but we also understand that it's not the most feasible place to come to all the time is Lansing and or on a Tuesday. But if you can, setting that time aside really helps the message at the
farm month on there. Yeah. The gentleman from Red Letter Farms, and we've talked quite a bit too, actually. It would be really good to have him come out and speak about cottage law and what he's speaking about and whatnot too. Very informative. Like to touch more on that conversation of the topic at one point.
Us, I want people to feel like it's a platform for them to speak and come out and engage. There's strong leaders all throughout our community, and some of them haven't stepped into their own yet. There's some powerful voices and some strong minds and some great ideas, and they haven't come to light because maybe they haven't had a place to do it. So that's creating a space and a place for that, for people to step in too. Because there's one thing, I'll say it all day long, is people can chuck things at me and they can talk shit and they can tell me I'm doing this or that wrong or whatever. But if you haven't done shit yourself and you're sitting on your hands and you ain't got up and done a damn thing, you ain't called nobody, you haven't engaged or helped anybody, then just your voice doesn't matter that much to me. So, and there's a lot of people out there like that, and that's okay. I mean, that rolls off. So
Rick will tell you, I called him out.
Pork Chop 1987 says she dated Montel Williams, who was an open stoner.
Yes, she did.
Yes. She used to be a Montel Williams, like, fucking groupie.
Oh, sorry.
I wasn't gonna say. I said groupie.
That's cool. He's a really good dude. He's a good speaker, and he speaks to cannabis quite often. I believe in seminars and things. And again, some of these people, these little breaks, whether it's Calvin Johnson,
he should run for president.
Whoever, just breaking it down a little bit more. And the older ones are passing through our time continuum. So as that continues to happen, we're opening doors, but definitely a long road, and it's still a together thing. We separate now, and it's just gonna not.
That's the cool thing about weed is, I've said this for years, is the one substance on this planet that brings people together that don't like each other, would never talk to each other, don't care for the other person's race, don't care for the other person's sex, don't care for the other person's sexual whatevers and gender. I mean, they hate just hatred, but they'll all stand in a circle and smoke a joint together.
Right.
So it's the only substance on the planet that brings people together like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Trust me, I smoked weed with a lot of people I wouldn't sit down and eat dinner with, let alone anything else.
Well, and imagine too, even on the rec side of things, how it sounds like cannabis just recently, whether I don't know this stat is true or not, that it overcame the daily use of cannabis trumps over alcohol currently in the States. Again, I don't know if that's true. I just seen it in the, but if it is, that's a good perpetuation. Because imagine how many domestic violences that were intercepted, how many bad decisions were intercepted, how many backhands from an angry somebody didn't happen, or because he or she got drinking or whatever. So there's a lot of benefits that just kind of perpetuate. We just got to keep cannabis flowing and on the minds in a positive way. And she's healing even when we ain't looking. You can call it rec or whatever. Yeah, call it recreational. Fine. Still stopping stuff.
Well, Dennis Perone, who has left us, but Dennis Perone's big thing was all cannabis use is medicinal.
Yeah.
And he didn't use the word cannabis for the matter. But I had to explain to Sinclair why his friends started using the word cannabis, because he didn't understand. And he's, why does this guy keep calling it cannabis, man? It's weed, it's marijuana, it's all these other names. But this guy that I've known for 20 years, all of a sudden is only calling it cannabis. And I said,
right.
Well, you have to understand that's part of the political movement to show that it's medicinal. And the funny thing is, if you go around the world and you ask to buy cannabis, there are very few places in the world that actually know what you're talking about. If you ask to buy marijuana, the same thing. They have no idea what you're talking about. But if you ask to buy hashish, they know exactly what you're talking about.
Ganja.
Hashish can get you flowers when you meet him. But most places have no concept of anything but hashish.
Yeah.
I always found that interesting.
That is interesting.
Shit, I lost track of what I was gonna say.
Stone.
Yeah, I know.
It's all good. So everybody can get at you at MichiganWeedsters.com.
Yes, sir.
And MichiganWeedsters@gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
Bada boom, bada bing. Just want to remind everybody, August 18th, we're having a Get Back event in Detroit. If you're around Detroit, come through. It'll be from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Sunday, August 18th. All kinds of awesome people will be there. I'll be there. I'll drag Adam's ass there if I have to.
I get back from my cruise that day, but I'll be there.
What? You're going on a cruise? Damn.
Shit happens.
I wish.
I'm glad you get to go on a cruise, man.
Stay tuned on Instagram and Facebook about the event. Go out, get your medical marijuana cards, y'all. Detroit Certification Center, one of those awesome people you can hit up. Detroit Cert Center on social media, DetroitCertCenter.com, or give them a call or text at 248-275-6707. Once again, I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who helps this show go on every week. all of our awesome sponsors. Shout out to Native Made 313, Michigan Turf Farms, Reduction Extracts, Tiki Madman, SLB Labs, and Trade Street Packaging. Boom.
I get back the 17th, so I will definitely be there on the 18th.
All right, but
I'll have stuff for the goodie bags also. So
awesome, awesome. Yeah, everybody come through with some school supplies for the kiddos. And have a good time, yo. Save the date, like right now.